I mean, we talk at mailboxes. Voldemort would go and chit chat, do whatever. I mean, he was up there far more than I was. I'm, mostly trapped in the box on my side there. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there that it wasn't like we're besties or we hang out or, like that way people understood the relationship here. But as a community neighbors, mothers, um, I know her well enough to know that her face was genuine that day. And I know with what was already going on in their lives, that her calling the police that day was a big step and not something she would have done lightly. And for her to have done so immediately told me that it was serious and sort of that she was, like, I still firmly believe she had nothing to do with any of this. And I mean, I've had people almost make me that, like, but I know in my gut, in my heart, that she didn't. If you all could have seen her face and heard her voice, and y'all understand, I see what the rest of the public does. The same information's out here for me to read and see too. I know certain behaviors make it look really weird and really whatever, and I understand, I get it. I do, and I understand where some people are coming from, and, eating alive for some of it, I get it. And I get the past stuff, and I get whatever. But in my gut, and in my heart, I know she didn't. And I just, either way. So, I tell her I'm looking, and I jump back in to the woods and then back into the creek, and then our other neighbor, who I'm not going to name, had either heard the commotion and was already out, but I heard him and her talking. I don't know if she got him or if he was already out, and a lot of times he is already around that time. So I don't know how it happened. I was looking on my own, so I wasn't. I was focused, but I did pick up enough to know that he had joined by this point. And then I looked back at one point, and he's pretty close to me. He's still in the roadway, and he was like, "You on the creek?" And I was like, "Well, you got boots on. I've got sandals. That makes more sense." So he took the bank beside of me so he could walk it and look for tracks. I could stay in the water and I could look. And that way it kept out and on tracks, but covered everything. And so we both walked through, and like I said, at the point, the foliage was a little different than even just a couple days after. I mean, it was quick how fast it popped up. And right where this is at, coincidentally, is where the clear cutting started. And it was ground down to mud and dirt like I've never seen before. Even the creek was dammed up in spots that I mean, it was crazy. So I follow the creek. He follows the bank, which is the bottom of Candus's hill, is it the main piece there. We keep in contact when we can't see one another. We're like, "Have you seen any track? Have you seen this? Have you seen that?" I'm dragging the bottom of my feet. I'm looking at the mud, see tracks, anything. There's nothing. And he's getting nothing. And we should have had something been through there just because of how devastated it was and sort of how muddy it had been made by the clear cutting. It was very thick, mushy. It wasn't normal like it would have been had they not clear cut. But tracks would have been there and even more pronounced but it was still so messed up that I don't know. Either way, at the creek area though, it wasn't as, you know, Anyway, I get to points to where you can tell that obviously the creek's not been touched. It's stagnant for a pretty lengthy period, even though there had been a rain just a night or two before. And so I could tell nothing had been there in those spots, but I went through them anyway. Felt with my feet at the bottom, looked for tracks on the banks, and then I would hop out in places I couldn't get through because they would have been messed up so bad by the clear cutting and stuff, and I would hop right back in on the other side of whatever was, and rinse, repeat, right, all the way down through. And the entire time, the other neighbor is still with me, and we're following, and calling back and forth, make sure that, we've not found her, that we've not seen anything with each other. I get to the part where they literally have clear cut it in almost a path straight. It's clear cut all the way to the main road. You can't, it was wild. But there's a part that comes down almost like a roadway into Candus's property from the main road that they had clear cut everything off of. And it had entirely dammed up a piece. It's near a guardrail. And the field opens up at that point. And I see the boys way off to what is now my left but back shoulder. And at this point, I hear the cops coming. Because down there, you can tell the cops are coming 30 minutes before they're even in there because of the way dogs howl. So you've got quite a bit of warning. But also, I just hear them, and you hear the engines pick up. There's two, they come by. And then it wasn't long after that Voldemort comes in, and then Donnie not long behind him. During all this, also see and hear Candus going in and out, the Ben Hill onto the main road for things, but not in long spurts, So then, I keep walking my piece, and as much as I can at this point, because, they had literally taken out the creek. It was one of the wildest things I'd ever seen. So, Voldemort stops by one point. I was like, Summer's missing. He's like, I know, I'm looking. So, he's driving up down the main road. I'm like, I've got this. I see the boys back there. They're kind of squatted down. They're children. And I know instinctively what they're doing. They're kind of playing. And I'm just like, okay, kids will be kids. Either way, I finally make my way to them. I'm almost to them before they realize I'm there and they've been caught. And they stand up, and the oldest, I was like, look, when's the last time you seen your sister? Where did you see her last? And he, and I'm not going to say what he told me. But then he tells me it's been like, a few minutes. And I'm not going to give the exact time period either. And he tells me that. And he's pretty speaking for the group. And they're a little off, but I figure they just got caught playing and still looking for sister. And they're afraid I won't tell mama. So, anyway, they start trudging back through the middle of me and another neighbor through the field to go back home. By this point, I can see a cop in the back. I've reached as far as I can get without crossing the other fence, and then right back to where I know has already been searched and is being searched by others at the time. And so I head back out towards the middle, almost the same way the boys do. That way I could look for tracks in the middle in case. And I'd known the other neighbor hadn't been able to get that because they were still busy on the bank. I hollered back and forth to them, asked if they found anything. They have not. Obviously, none of us had. we all kind of knew at that point she was not in there. There was also, I think we would have spotted any signs of animal things. I think there was like one bear track maybe, but it was older. Wasn't fresh. And I mean like one paw, and not fresh. So, but not, anyway, it had been there before the rain, so it wasn't. Anyway, I made my way back to the start of Ben Hill. By this point, other neighbors are starting to flood in.